This episode was brought to you by Resilient Nutrition. Pals, greetings and welcome to another episode of Everything Endurance. It is, as always, and I know I say this every time, but I do genuinely mean it, an absolute pleasure to have you with us again today. I'm very excited at the moment. I'm extremely excited. We're going on an adventure. It's happening. 1 week today, I will most likely be halfway up one of the Munros on the Knoydart Peninsula in the West Highlands of Scotland, wearing my waterproofs, leaning at 45 degrees into a howling gale, taking photos of runners as they make their way along the Highland Ultra course, which is just immense. I can't wait to be out there adventuring again. I've already started packing my kit, which I'll no doubt unpack and repack at least 2 more times before I feel like I'm genuinely ready to go. It's going to be absolutely amazing. In fact, you don't have to hear that from me. Yesterday, I managed to get a little voice recording from the man himself, Kris King, my former co-host on this podcast, race director at Beyond the Ultimate, who is already up in the West Highlands of Scotland, getting ready for us to arrive. Today, he's got blue skies, no wind. He's having an absolutely lovely time. The guy just excitedly called me on a video call from the middle of a Scottish loch on a boat going, "Mate, you won't believe this. I've just found 4G in the middle of nowhere." And we managed to have a little video call and he's having an absolute whale of a time. Yesterday, at the point where this bit was recorded, it had been raining solidly for about 36 hours. And I think you can hear it in his voice. But I'll tell you what, he's ready for an adventure as well. So I'm just going to play a little recording from Kris so we can hear what he's been getting up to as he prepares for the Highland Ultra.
Hi, mate. Yeah, everything's going really well at the minute. It's just weather is absolutely honking today, so we've got everything up to my leg in the van, and Nick's truck and things. There's obviously a lot of stuff to get there, and then we got set up. And today is the day that we were planning to get everything on cross on the boat. We've got like a little haulage boat to load in, so we're currently like just swapping things from van to trailers and stuff like that, but weather is pounding it down at the minute, so I'm hoping it gets a bit better, or we might not get back onto Knoydart. But yeah, everything's going really well. We've got a day forecast tomorrow, sunshine and no wind, so our plan is to get all of the tents up and get all the camp set up ready for that, and then we'll go over to Camp 2 and get that set up. And yeah, it's just going well, man. It's tough. It's tough conditions to work in, but amazing to be back doing stuff. I'm absolutely I can't sleep with excitement because I can't wait for the thing to get started. So yeah, I'm pumped. We're all pumped here, and let's go, baby. Let's go.
Right, and then on to the real business of the podcast. I've got a great guest for you today. He's an absolutely lovely bloke. I first encountered this guy 2 years ago, and you really are going to get a flavour from this podcast of how recently he really got into ultra running, like really got into it properly. We're going back 2 years. I saw him come in first on the Spine Challenger, winter 20... Ooh, everything's merged into one after the pandemic. I guess winter 2019. And I don't know if I've ever seen a more exhausted person. There's an interview I managed to do with him at the finish line, and the guy can barely talk. He'd put everything out there to get that first position on that race. And that year, the weather conditions had been grim, so it's wholly understandable. Today, we get to talk to a much more chipper version of this guy, and he has come on leaps and bounds. He was already a winner of a major race at that point. What he is now is someone who's managed to head out to Lake District and set a new record for the double Bob Graham. Not just a Bob Graham, singular, which is already an incredible undertaking in and of itself, the double Bob. So we're going to be talking to an absolutely delightful character today, and that is Doug Zinnis. Doug, how are you doing?
Good, thank you. You?
Yeah, very well. Thank you very much. And yeah, very polite of you as well. People don't tend to ask me how I'm doing, like they don't care about their host. So, thanks. I'm having a good morning. Nearly a month on from your massive challenge now, pal. How are you? How are you doing? How have you recovered?
Feeling good. Yeah, feeling like I've got to start training again soon. So, properly. Limiting my mileage.
Yeah, fair enough. I guess you do have to ease your way back from a challenge this big, right? I can only imagine what your legs were like the day after a double Bob Graham.
More feet than legs, but it's like a roller coaster where you're training. You got to go up and down, let your body recover.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. Well, you know what? This is basically skipping to the end of the story, but since we're on it, what does the morning after a challenge this big feel like? What kind of condition were your feet and your legs in after this?
My feet were sore, but it wasn't too bad, really. I'm thinking more about getting to Wetherspoons for 2 breakfasts.
Well, one for each Bob Graham. I think that's only fair.
It's got to be done. Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant. Well, look, I've managed to get a minute and a half into this without saying congratulations on your double Bob Graham record. You can correct my numbers here in case any of them are wrong, but that's 2 rounds of over 60 miles each.
Yeah.
Each of which has, I've got 8,200 meters of ascent written in here, which is the better part of an Everest. So 2 Everests.
In feet, it were like 53,000.
That is absolutely outrageous. It just sort of puts this in perspective of how big a challenge it is you've just set for yourself. Mm-hmm. So where did the idea come from? Because we were just talking about this sort of before I started recording, that the last time I saw you was just before all hell broke loose in January 2020 when you were winning the Spine Challenger. Yeah. Now, you had bloody horrible weather. It was a really tough race that January, and you came out on top. And that's the last time we spoke. So what happened between there and here that made you think, right, I'm gonna go and do the double Bob?
Well, it were first lockdown. I was talking to a friend, and he knows what I'm like, and he could put stuff in my head and it bubbles away. So he sent me a video of Dickie Spinks breaking a double. And he said, I bet he could do that. And he knows it bubbled away in my head. And bubble away it did.
Yeah, bubbled a lot by the sounds of it.
Yeah.
Well, there was so much of this that we saw last year that when runners didn't have races on their calendar anymore, they switched to looking at records and stuff to do instead. So it makes perfect sense. Are you based in the Lake District?
I'm based in Calderdale in West Yorkshire.
Oh, right. Okay. So not desperately far away, but yeah. So it was just seeing that video of Nicky Spinks that made you think, yeah, that's the one. I'm going to take this on.
I like the Bob Graham. Never did it in reverse either, so I fancied doing it in reverse, but I didn't. And I thought I could do 2. I thought it's doable. It's on the cards. I actually attempted it last year for the first time. I injured my hip flexor upon Scarfell. I was at full stretch and my back leg slipped. Stupid little injury. I kept going on reverse, and I ended up taking an hour and 55 minutes to get off seat sandal. My mates were carrying me down. It was painful at the time, but so funny now when you look back at it.
Yeah, I'm glad you can have a sense of humor about it looking back. I mean, from what I read, you were about 80 miles down by the time you injured yourself. Is that right?
Yeah, it were an interesting end to it. But I learned things from it. You know, I learned not to get my stride at full stretch in case it did slip. So it was only a minute slip, an inch, but it did the damage.
Yeah,
you got to learn from things, isn't it?
Well, yeah, absolutely. Look, as recce's go, a proper dry run at it. Like I've heard this from other runners. Like you have to look at DNFs as the best recce you could do. You went in at race conditions and you learn a lot out of it.
And we all do it. We all have DNFs. It's just you got to try and drag your chin up off the floor and use it as a springboard.
So that was January. Oh no, not January. The other day, July 2020. You made the first attempt at that. Is that right?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah.
What was the heat like doing it then? Was that sort of part of your decision making in doing it in September the second time around?
Yeah, well, the reason I did it in July first time was just between lockdowns and between,
of course,
as we were allowed to do. If I'm ever doing a big event, I like to do it even May or September because I'm not a big heat lover. It makes it hard work for me psychologically as well. I did the Lakeland 100 just gone about 12 weeks ago, and it was 32 degrees when we set off. It was just so hard psychologically to push yourself, but I did. So I'm all right.
I spoke to Anna Troop about the same event, and she said it was absolutely baking hot.
It was, it was horrible until middle at night, and then it was nice.
Yeah, you've just got to run as far as midnight, then it turns out all right again.
Well, it's still 21 degrees at midnight, but by 2 o'clock it was 15. No, nice.
Bloody hell. Well, just before we sort of get into the to and fro-in of your successful attempt at this just a month ago, I want to go back a little bit further because we haven't had the chance to speak to you on the podcast before.
Yeah.
And I always think it's interesting to hear a bit about where the runners come from, because we get some ultra runners that literally didn't seem to strap on a pair of running shoes until they got in their 30s, and others that have been sporty since the day they were born. Where does Doug Zinnis sort of fit in? What was your journey towards being the ultra runner you are now?
Well, during my childhood and teens, I did a lot of caving with my dad, walking, fishing, a lot of fishing. I'm generally outdoors, and I got to my end of my teens, got lazy and put loads of weight, and as you do when you're that age.
That sounds familiar, yeah.
Drinking, smoking, and then got 24-year-old and had a mini stroke, and just a little one. It was a little warning. So time to sort myself out. So after, I think it was 28, I met my wife, and she went for a run every morning. So I went down to the canal and I tried running from one lock to the next lock, and I couldn't do it. But I just persevered, and over time developed, a love of running. So that's where that came from.
That's incredible.
Yeah, I had to burn the weight off first. So I had to burn. What did I burn off? 4.5 stone. I had to burn off. So that took some time. It did.
Wow. Yeah, well, thanks to your wife then for inspiring you to carry on with it, because that's absolutely amazing. So a mini stroke at the age of 24, just a wake-up call for you. I can only imagine what that felt like. Yeah,
just a shot across the bows. It's weird at the time, but looking back, it's probably one of the best things that happened to me. It's pulled me out of a hole, so to speak.
Nudged you in the right direction.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, well, now I'm doubly glad we went back to talk about your past history a bit, Doug, because that's a great story for anyone listening to this to hear that, you are, what did I read? You're like 41 now, is that right? Yeah, sorry to drop your age in there, but, you're only a year older than me. So, 41 years old and 24, you just weren't a runner at all. This happens. 28, you can't get from one lock to the next, but you keep at it and you steadily lose the weight. And here you are at 41 years old, double Bob Graham record.
It's a progression.
Yeah. Well, it's inspiring stuff. I love it. That's exactly what I wanted to know. Yeah. So when did the sort of ultra running start then? You're 28 years old and going lock to lock down the canal side. When did you start to pick up the bigger distances?
I started doing odd half marathon, etc. when we were about in mid 2015, sorry. And then I got 2016. I look at my local clubs because I've done a lot in the countryside when I was younger. Obviously, I got drawn back to it. Did a couple of fell races. I've seen a lot of Calder Valley vests. I knew they were just aren't good for me, so along I went to a Tuesday night run. And you look around, you see some people about, and you look up to everybody there. You're looking up to what achievements they've done, what achievements they set, and just general banter. It just pushes you on, doesn't it? And then I did a lot of shorter races and realised my eyes were sticking out of my head and I was stressed, and then I didn't enjoy them at all. So I went for a run one time with my mate, 50 odd miles, straight over to Haworth and then back to Hebden. And I got to the end and I felt like I could do it again. So that were the start, really, where I realised I could do a little bit further. And yeah, it progressed from there. Haworth Foggle, Calderdale Way relays as a pair with my friend Ian. We won that. And then I booked into Spine, and never thought I'd be able to get anywhere near front. That's where I ended up. So that was good.
God, I'd forgotten about that aspect of it from the time. You hadn't expected to be up troubling the podium at all that year, had you? And
no, not really. No, I hadn't realised I could keep the pace for so long. I mean, it's the first time I'd done a 100 miler. Confident in my abilities, but never thought I would be able to do it, But yeah, it was good. And I like I said, I don't like the warm weather. So in a way, the storms are not perfect for me. I'm not bothered by them. Just get my head down and push through.
Wow.
Like your kit. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it says a lot. You say that as you were growing up, you weren't sort of naming ultra competitive sports there. You just general love of the outside and of exploring and stuff. It sounds like you've come more from that angle. So maybe the worst weather you experience in a race, the better it is for you. Yeah,
it is. Yeah.
Yeah, plays to your strengths. Somebody built for endurance rather than speed.
Yeah, definitely. I get stressed. I'd rather do a 100-mile race than a 5K. Definitely.
I think there's a lot of people listening to that. They'll find that a little hard to understand, but I get what you mean completely. There's a pleasure in just seeing how long you can keep going for. Yeah. Would you say that's part of what attracts you to these ultra distance events then?
Yeah, the whole side to it, really. I like the tactics. I mean, you go into a race, I like to have 7 or 8 different tactics in my head for all scenarios. I like the banter with everyone around. I met some fantastic people through both fell running and the ultra running. Yeah, some really nice people, and the events are so well organised. Some beautiful places. I mean, what's not to like? It gets you out. Luckily, I've got a family who support me through all this. So. Look up to me. My boys started running now a little bit, so they want to beat my records. So they've got to beat my times, so that's good. So hopefully I can go and give them some flapjack one day when they're running past. Maybe.
Absolutely brilliant. So what? January 2020, that's when you got your win on the Spine Challenger. Yeah. When were your first ultra races then? Because I'm starting to realise now you haven't been doing these very long distances for very long, have you? Not
really, no. When did I do 2018, I did Haworth Foggle and the Calderdale Way relay. That was my first year, really, where I woke up to a bit that I can do them distances. I live on the Calderdale Way, pretty much. So I use it as a training run sometimes. If there's nothing on, I'll just run around Calderdale Way. Especially for spine training, it's good. Because Bleaker and Moors up around Todmorden, the dark side, in the winter. So it's good spine training there. Wind, rain, and horrible weather. Yeah.
Hi everyone, sorry to interrupt. Just here to remind you that this episode was brought to you by Resilient Nutrition, and you can find their full range of elite long-range fuels exclusively on the BTU store now. The elite long-range fuels are a series of delicious nut butter products with micronutrients and supplements designed to give you exactly what you need when you need it. They're delicious, they're great for fueling whatever your adventure is, and you can find them on the BTU store and nowhere else right now. Store.btu.com. store.beyondtheultimate.co.uk. That's store.beyondtheultimate.co.uk. Okay, let's get back to the podcast. You're only sort of 3 years into ultra running as a pursuit, and you've got a double Bob Graham record to your name that you took from Nicky Spinks, like one of just an absolutely legendary ultra runner. That's a hell of a progression.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you put that down to? What does your training look like?
Well, this year my main focus is the spine in general, the full spine.
Yeah, I got very excited when I saw your name on that list.
So I thought I'd done a previous Paddy Buckley round, it was very hot, so I cramped up, I'm like with heat. So I did it in 26 hours, so I had to revisit that. So a friend and I, beginning of this year, we both had bad Paddy Buckley rounds. So we both said, right, we'll set off at the same time and see what we can do. So we started training as soon as lockdowns would let us together. Most weekends doing big hill reps, 6,000-7,000 foot over 20 miles, sometimes less. Getting up to about 60-70 mile weeks, cross training with bikes. A lot of strength work at the beginning. During lockdown, I built a wall in the garden. I found that good for strength work, carrying blocks about and stuff. But yeah, we went down, did this Paddy Buckley in May. I did it in 20 hours. And then my next goal was 12 weeks after that, Lakeland 100. I did that in 22 hours.
Out of 5th place, I believe?
Yeah, the first V4.
Okay.
And then my next thing was double bob, and then progression towards the spine. And another reason for double bob this year was to try and get 2 days and no sleep in preparation for spine, just to experience it and see how I coped mentally. But yeah, I did all right with it, so I'm happy with the result for it. For obviously for breaking the record, I was aiming for under 48 hours.
Yeah, well, you certainly managed that.
On the schedule, I had 2 22-hour schedules, 22-hour anti-clockwise, 2 22-hour clockwise, just as a rough thing for support, so they knew where to be.
Yeah.
At what time. But they know what I'm like, and I always go off too fast.
Yeah, most runners do. I don't think we can help it. But, so during your training on the run up to this big challenge, do you sort of have a coach that comes in and tell you what to get in each week, or do you just take care of your own training?
I just take care of my own. I know my body, I know my limitations. I know when to peak, when not to peak. Well, that's what I've learned over the last 3 or 4 years. When to train, when not to train, when to hold yourself back, even though it seems ludicrous. But sometimes you've got to. And I've found out my perfect time to have a big run before the race now. That's took me probably a year to find exactly when I need to do some people like to do a big run 2 weeks before, but I like to taper from 4 weeks, but not completely taper. I'll do a big week, maybe an 80-mile week with a big run 4 weeks from the event, and then I'll go down to a 50-mile week, then a 30-mile week, then I work the wind back. 20-mile week, maybe a week before, just jogging, nothing over 5K, and then off we go. And my body seems to like that. So.
I just think that's brilliant. I talk to some people who are sort of have an incredibly scientific approach to their training, or and there's a lot of benefits to having a coach. Obviously, I understand that, but it sounds like you've got your own body and your own needs figured out over the last few years.
You've got to do it around your family as well.
Of course.
Work, obviously. So it's hard. Yeah, it's hard to juggle everything, but I seem to find a good balance at the moment. Touch wood.
Yeah, well, it certainly sounds like you have. You mentioned sleep deprivation there. Is there anything you do as you're going up to a challenge like this to try and prepare yourself? Sleep's not really something you can bank very well in advance, is it?
Yeah. I mean, for the double bob, I chose to go at 7 a.m. in the morning after a good night's sleep. So I had to pick one of my support up at Honister. first leg was anti-clockwise. So I drove up the night before and slept in the car, and I got 7 hours sleep in the car the night before. So it was fantastic. And then we were straight off. So that was my idea. I mean, you can't bank your sleep, but you can start off after a night's sleep. If I were doing a 24-hour, I'd probably set off at 10 o'clock at night, just because it's 24 hours. It's only one night into it. So it's not too bad.
Fair enough. Also, I love how glamorous the ultra running scene is. I got a decent 7 hours sleeping in my car before breaking a record for the double Bob Graham.
Don't sleep that well at home.
Yeah, well, at least it's quiet. Yeah.
Yeah, we're lovely night. Well, stars were out that night. Shame it wasn't like that night after.
So, how did the sleep deprivation work out for you? Was this the first time you'd gone like a full 48 running without sleep?
Yeah, with running. Yeah, we're fine. I've set my tactics now in my head for spine from it. I know what I can achieve. I've done a lot of supports for people on Lake Mears and Waters, Bob Graham's, Paddy Buckley's, and I've done loads of times where I've had half an hour sleep in 48 hours, and I can keep going. So I'm happy that I did it as I did, because it gives me confidence in the tactics for the spine. So,
fair enough. I mean, and don't give too much away about your tactics now. You never know who's listening. Ian Keith will be noting this down, fair enough. So, and you talk about you picked up one of your sort of logistical team as you were on the way up to start this thing. Like, how many people were helping you with this double Bob Graham event?
23 all in all.
Bloody hell!
I kept it down early. There were only 2 on each leg, near enough. I've got 3 different support on the roads, just to break it up, and 2 of them actually did some legs as well with me. So it were good. They were a good group. They've been with me for a long time with various different challenges, and I've helped them on challenges. You can trust them, and I know there's experience in each leg, which is a massive thing.
And there seemed to be a sort of quite tight-knit community of people that you can call on for these kind of events. Like, I realize there's a lot of logistical work in organizing 23 people to be in the right place at the right time, but there really does seem to be a community that supports that will just be where you need them to be at 3 o'clock in the morning just because they want to see someone do well.
It's amazing. Yeah, it's after one at lockdowns when I did my paddy this year, there were a friend I hadn't seen in 18 months from Liverpool, and I met him in Capel Curig in the middle at night. It was fantastic, you don't see that in any other sport in my eyes, and it's fantastic. Yeah, no question. If they ask me to do it, also, I'll be with them. It's really good.
No, I absolutely agree, because most of the runners you're talking about here as well, because it's not like we're involved in a sport where there are huge amounts of prize money or where your sponsorship will be enough for you to live on for a year. It doesn't happen like that.
No.
So these are people that have got their own full-time jobs and their own training schedules, but are still willing to get up at 2 o'clock in the morning and drive halfway across the country to run a couple of hours with you.
And they enjoy it as well. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I think that's incredible. So let's consider this a shout out to all the sport runners, because they're a big part of this too.
Amazing. Yeah.
Now, incredible. So, double Bob Graham round. You've been preparing for this. You've had one go back in July in 2020, and your hip flexors put you out of it. How were you feeling when you got to the beginning of it this time? 7 a.m. on the day you're going to set off. Were you feeling ready? Are you nervous? Are you confident? What's going on?
Yeah, I felt ready. I don't feel nervous. I was just ready to go. Last 4 minutes dragged, countdown. Me and Charlie, it were nice start, nice and quiet. Lovely morning, very humid. So it were nice, yeah. Just get my head down and get moving and get off that horrible road. The worst part of it.
Oh, well, that's stolen my next question, which is which were your favourite and least favourite parts of the course?
Yeah, well, I don't like the road bit at the beginning, and I got stung by a wasp on my leg. on that first 5 minutes. But yeah, so I hate it even more now.
Yeah, but I'm just glad it turned out not to be a bad omen. Yeah.
No, luckily it didn't react. It itched, but didn't react.
No, fair enough. So, what kind of weather did you end up with for this attempt? Did it work for you all the way through?
Well, looking at the forecast, I know 2 days in lakes is a long time. You can get 3 or 4 seasons in that time. And looking at the forecast, it will go to be reasonable through the day, first day, and then it will go to turn a bit rubbish through the night. So through the day, I had some decent paces. I had Charlie, who's fast, he's got under 20 record for PG. Tom Hollins on second and third leg. So I knew I'd better move fast on the first 3 legs, but comfortable, didn't get out of breath. So off we went, and I made 1 hour 40 on my schedule. But the plan was to do that because I knew the weather's got to turn at night. It's got to be pea super. It's got to be windy. It's got to be rainy on a spell. It's got to slow me down big time. It evened it out. So yeah, it was warm in the morning. It were claggy on tops, but nothing too bad. Very still. And yeah, we're good going. Some good banter. We're all smiling. Yeah, we had a good time. We did. Yeah.
Fantastic. You didn't end up hitting any heavy weather over the 48 hours then?
On the first night, and the Friday night, 50 mile an hour winds and rain.
Bloody hell.
On the leg 4, so it'd be leg 2 reverse, it were P super. You couldn't see me support in front of me, let's say 5 or 10 metres with the torches on full blast. So it was a case of just hit the peaks, get the nav right. Going up Hallsfell, like I said, it were really, really windy and slippy and horrible. It's like on there, it's big knuckle. So we just get up there without falling, everyone's happy, and then we can get down the other side and get out of wind.
How well do you and the runners around you at that point know the course? I mean, if you're up at the tops and you get caught in fog that badly, does that make nav much more difficult for you?
That's horrible. Yeah, this is one of the reasons why I went a little bit faster at the beginning. I made that time. So a lot of what I do with ultras is psychological. So you've got to give yourself time to get through it. So I give myself some time so I could relax on them legs and get my nav right. I could relax and not worry about, it's taking me a little bit longer in this climb. And it was good, yeah. So I'd give myself that time. And by the time I got to the end, I'd done the first loop in 21 hours, 44. So I'd gone from being 1 hour and 40 up to 15, but I was still 15 minutes up on my schedule. When I knew that I only have to do a 23-hour clockwise, and I cracked it. And I felt really good. It was still horrible weather, beginning of the second leg. We were getting blown sideways on skidder, as you always do. And then came into the day and it started clearing up. It started still claggy, but it cleared up a little bit. The wind died down, which was good. Still a bit breezy, but nothing too bad. And then we're off again. Leg 3, so it'd be leg 8. I did that in 5.5 hours, leg 3, which was good. Over at Scarfell and that, really good. Kevin Holt on there, who were fantastic. Really good nav all the way. And then back to the nighttime sections. Your head can drop, but we've seen the stars. I do fantastic support. We're just chatting all the way down and having a laugh. And it slowed down a bit, got claggy on Kirkfell, Gable, like a pea super again. It wasn't that nice, but same again, get your nav right, get down. We got to Honister, 3 hours to go for the record. So I knew that I'm halfway up Dale Head anyhow, so fired up there. I had a reliable support on that leg, Craig. And then once I got to Robinson, I knew, right, I can let go here now and smashed it on the way down, 7-minute miles and 8-minute miles all the way back.
Sprint finish after all that.
Why not?
Yeah,
so
why not?
Can't get me again. That's what
Yeah, they don't fly as quick as you think. You've 7-minute miles, you're fine. You're well clear of them. No bother.
I believe it got stung by a wasp.
Well, yeah, but you know what, Doug? We're talking about a double Bob Graham round here. You've done basically 2 Everests and 120 plus miles of running, and the biggest complaint you seem to have for me so far is that you got stung by a wasp.
Yeah, it was horrible. I got some blisters on my feet, but I got bad blisters at the Highland 100 8 weeks before I did that, the double. So I don't think they'd healed properly. My skin was still soft. I've got a fantastic picture of my feet in Wasdale, and they look like zombie feet from underneath. They've had Vaseline on them all day and they're white. And they look like they're not my feet.
Oh, God. Oh, you have to send me that. We'll use it for the podcast cover image. That'll look lovely.
Yeah,
people will come and listen to that.
I've got a friend putting some Vaseline on one foot and my other friend on the other side popping a blister. The joys of ultra running.
Yeah, again, this is not a glamorous sport. I think I'm like 70 odd episodes into this podcast now, and people must have figured that out by now.
Yeah. Same again with support. You've got friends coming out to meet you and they're willing to pop your blisters. It's fantastic.
So it sounds like you had all your ducks in a row and things went really well on this attempt. I mean, what was the finish like? You have people waiting for you when you got there?
No, just me and Craig. We got to end. Everyone else was tired. I'd worn them all out, I think. We just got to end. It was me and Craig. It was lovely and quiet. Not even a pigeon. It was 3 minutes past 4 in the morning. It was just nice. Just chatting to Craig for a bit, and then went back down to my car. Had a kip for 3 hours, and then to Wetherspoons for my 2 breakfasts.
That is absolutely brilliant. I can't think of a better way to celebrate at the end of something like that, to be honest. Yeah. Well, strong work. One of the things that I noticed about this was quite often if someone is going out to do a big record, one of the big rounds going for an FKT, I hear about it in advance, or if I don't hear about it in advance, I'm bombarded with updates about it on Instagram or from their Facebook page, and their sponsors are screaming about it as well. And I know about it. I had no idea what was going on with you, not until well afterwards. Like there isn't a 10,000 follower Doug Zinnis Instagram page that you're doing all this for. Yeah. That doesn't seem to be part of your motivation. Would that be fair to say? Yeah,
it's more for the occasion. It's fantastic. I absolutely love doing it. But I also love seeing support, being so involved, and the amount of people who's got in touch after. It's awesome. Just a lot of people have enjoyed it. I didn't go mad with the trackers and stuff. I had a tracker. I didn't go mad with it. After last time when I got dragged off a mountain, 1 hour and 55 minutes, that's a little bit in your mind. It's not the fact that I got dragged off, it's the fact that we don't want to let people down. We don't want to let people stopping up for 2 days maybe and then seeing me dragged down off a mountain. It's no fun, is it? So I knew it would get me head down, and it's doable. I knew it was in my legs. I'm confident of getting round. My plan was good. My training was good. I'd done events on lead up to it. I was thinking about not doing it actually before I did the Lakeland 100. But
really?
Yeah, I don't know. For the first 10 miles, because I think that heat would get into me. I was saying, I'm not got. I'm got to have a rest. I'm got to have a rest for once. I'm got to have a rest in my life. And about an hour after end, I went up to do a Kev Holt and Robbie Harris at end talking, and I went up to him. I said, I don't know if I'm going to do it. And Kev went, do it. So in my head again, and here we go. So yeah, that was it.
Yeah, well, I got to say, Doug, I'm pretty glad you're this impressionable.
Yeah. Put things in my mind, it bubbles away.
Yeah, well, I'm going to be careful what I suggest to you in January when I see you on the spine. We could get you into anything at this rate. Yeah, cracking. So we know you've got the spine on the agenda. Winter spine in January. Can't wait for that. That's going to be absolutely brilliant. How are you feeling about that now that you've done a double Bob Graham? We know what you've got in your legs. You've done 48 hours without sleep now. Yeah. You got to be feeling in a decent position for your spine race now.
Yeah, I feel good. I'm just on my low point now with my training, so I can start building up soon. I've got to do a little bit different type of training. It's not as hilly, is it? So I don't have to do the big hills. I still do hills, but not as big. But yeah, it'll be good. I've got a good lead-up event in December. Tom's doing a winter Wainwright, so I'm going to help him out.
Cracking.
So I can get that's about 4 or 5 weeks before, and also it's perfect. Yeah, that'll be good. I think I'm quite confident of getting to the end. I don't know what kind of time, but it's all on sleep. How much you sleep, my tactics. I've got some good tactics in my head, hopefully, I think. So I just need to mull it over a little bit more on my tactics. I'll do some hill reps and mull it over. That's what I'll do.
Fair enough. I look forward to finding out.
Yeah.
What else is on the radar then? Has anyone suggested anything else completely bonkers to you that you've got in mind now?
Yeah, they put Wainwrights in my head. I don't know. There's a few different things I'd like. Toad against. There's all sorts, isn't there, on the horizon. I'd like to have another crack at a few different things, really. When I did the How Hobble first time, I was just plodding. So I reckon I can smash that this time, so it'd be nice. But I can do that now because it's on my doorstep. I don't have to go into it. So there's a few, I don't know, there's a few things. But yeah, Wainwright would be nice. But that's another step up again, isn't it? So
yeah,
maybe the spine can be another progression for me.
Yeah, this is it. It sounds like 3 years you've gone from your first ultra to a record for the double Bob Graham.
Yeah.
Then you're going on to your spine in January. Like, then you hit a Wainwright's. Then I don't know what stops you, Doug. I really don't.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I'll have to see. I'll enjoy recce in it either way. So that'd be good. Get out with friends on mountains. Yeah, it'd be good fun.
Yeah, well, that's what it's all about.
Okay.
Well, if anyone is listening to this and they're a runner and they're thinking about taking on a big, ridiculous challenge themselves, have you got any advice you've picked up along the last few years that you've got for them?
Train accordingly, but you've got to train. You've got continuity in your training. And if you're on an ultra, you've got to think about your continuity and your pace, your pitch. You know, you got to work on your speed walking, up hills, definitely. I've got speed walking sessions sometimes. You might look daft, but you've got to do it. I've always been a fast walker, so it's quite good for me. I'm always leaving wife and kids behind and waiting for them. Sat waiting, and who'll come back. But yeah, train and train again. But you've got to have your continuity in your training. And don't forget your rest every now and again as well. Big time. Fair
enough. Wise words, pal. Well, thanks very much for chatting to us today, Doug. I've really enjoyed catching up with you again.
Yeah, and, nice to see you again.
Yeah, you too. And I look forward to seeing you in January. Let's see what you can do on the spine race this time around.
Okay.
Yeah, cracking. Have a good morning, pal.
And you. Take care.